Okay, welcome to Property Paper Live. This used to be our old virtual coffee, anything owner financing and notes. This is Dawn Rickabaugh of NoteQueen.com. I'm so pleased to have you. It's been like years, seems like 4 years, maybe 3-4 years since I've hosted this, and I'm super happy to see new and old faces. Kenesha, Scott, thank you for being here. Nathan, USSR, Union of Seattle Socialist Republic. Okay, I didn't realize we had a breakout there. Houston, South Carolina. Kathy, great to see you. And yeah, lots of familiar names. And so thank you so much for joining me. It means a lot. This is super fun for me, and I hope y'all get some benefit out of it. I wanted to start off, well, if you read, well, of course you read my email, you wouldn't be here. But just as a reminder, I'm kind of going through a total overhaul of my site and just tightening up my direction of what I want to do going forward. If you're on this call or listening afterwards on the podcast or something, please go over to notequeen.com and sign up for the emails. That's going to be my main way of connecting with people, because I might throw random live streams in once in a while that are not recorded, just so that I can talk about anything I want to and not get censored. You know, once in a while, we'll call it something like hang out the Queen's Realm or hang out in the realm or something like that. It'll just be a live stream and not recorded, and we'll just talk about anything, because I have a lot of things I like to talk about that aren't just related to owner financing and notes. You guys know also that I'm because I like to support us unplugging from the central banks as much as possible. That's why I also pitch preparedness and also crypto a little bit, which I won't go into much, but I think it's a way that we can become our own bank in a very real and meaningful way. Most likely we'll have some sort of, what will we have? Probably some sort of parallel system possibly. And I plan not to be stuck in the central bankers version of that. So I'll just say that to me, it's part of the same conversation of being unplugged and not beholden to anyone else. The mom and pop deals, it's the same conversation, just with blockchain. So if you do a little bit of research, and I am going to plug a few resources into this chat. So, all right, so here's one. This is map.reventure.app. And I'll put that in here. He also has a website in the or a YouTube channel, Reventure Consulting, for all parts of the US, and you can see kind of his map here. Also, YouTube people, Broken Money with Lynn Alden. This is pretty interesting. There is another gal, Melissa White, who is absolutely, she's a mortgage broker, and she actually got on the road to see what was really going on with the real estate market. And what she came up with is pretty astounding. You know, there's a lot of Californians moving into the Northwest Nevada area. And so there's a lot of money still here. Prices haven't really softened, but even here, I'm seeing price reductions, more and more price reductions and deeper price reductions. So I think all the policies and raising and the mortgage rates and a lot of other factors, job losses may be getting even worse, but maybe 30% of the people aren't really feeling much of a difference, but I think 60 to 70% of Americans are really feeling a pinch. And anyway, I'm expecting that it seems like already in Arizona and Florida in particular, according to this Reventure Consulting guy, They're hitting lower price reductions harder than anyone else. There again, real estate is so local, so it's whatever is in your area. But that kind of informs me also, for what I saw, what they could do, what the federal government could do to shut down personal property rights, where you can't evict and you can't foreclose and all these different things. I don't know, with the trends I'm seeing, it's with the attack on personal property rights. And I don't know, real estate investing, it's a little bit of a different game, and I'd be a whole lot more careful. And of course, that would reverse engineer if I'm buying a note or carrying paper or doing all these things. I'm going to position myself more conservatively, and so that we know we're happy if the note pays, we're happy if the note doesn't pay. There's a lot of custom solutions that we can create. For instance, and Scott's on here right now, but Scott's taught me a lot. In the past, I've talked about trusts and things. There's also a really good place for the land trust that I never used it in this way. And it's because, no one was teaching it in the right way. I remember back in the early days in the 2000s, I was learning some of the correct ways to do a trust. And in a lot of ways, they're too complex. In a lot of ways, I've moved away from them as much in some ways, because it just doesn't look right. It looks like you're trying to hide things. It can cause trouble with taxation. I don't know. I've had some headaches with it, but Scott, Scott Moyes, that's on this call, he has showed me that, the subject to thing is all the rage, right? It makes a lot of sense. The way to take over a property or sell it is, for anything meaningful for a reasonable price, is to take over the existing financing. So subject to financing there's a reason, there's a craze for it. But from my experiences and others' experiences, I'd be real careful about that. Now. And so if I were ever going to take a property subject to and need the existing financing to legally be left in place, I would use a trust. Of course, this is the note queen, so I'm mostly talking about notes, but there is a place for that. So I just want you to keep that in the background of your mind, that I'll be talking a little bit about that as a solution, but obviously today we're going to focus on how owner financing and notes factors into things. So those are just a purview of things that are on my mind to discuss in the coming weeks and months. And if you like this sort of conversation, I'm going to be doing a lot more training and more frequently on we'll see how it goes. It's a kind of trial price and trial product, but over on Patreon, it's a affordable sort of monthly coaching product where we can go deeper. And the reason I created that, and pretty soon we're going to head over to Chuck, who is teed up, and he's been waiting for over an hour. He got the memo and I don't know if that was my fault. I apologize if it was, but it's weighing over an hour. We're going to talk about his situation. And but anyway, the reason I created this membership is because of Travis. Now, Travis has never been on my email list. Travis has never come to a Zoom meeting. Travis is I guess I met him many years ago. He found me, and so I would say for the last 8+ years, every year, Travis, he's just a street smart hustle. He's just got a lot of hustle. Back in the way back, he was a mortgage broker, so he understands the 1003 underwriting. He understands talking to realtors, talking to sellers. So Travis just hustles. He finds deals, and he probably, like I said, brings me probably 5 deals a year for the last 8 years. And I'm just going, you know what? I need more Travises. Because and what had happened is earlier this year, he says, Don, I'm really there's these deals I could put together, but I'm really hitting this educational wall where the realtors, I can't get it through to the realtors. This particular one isn't understanding, or this buyer isn't understanding what I'm trying to describe. And he's pretty good at it. So I go, you know what? So I started creating some materials for myself and for Travis, so that when I'm talking to sellers, when I'm calling the people who just did a price reduction, or they've been on the market over 60 days, over 90 days, I have some follow-up. I have flyer, a brochure, a report, things like that to help with the conversation. There's just an educational barrier, and you're all here probably because of the education that you want. But if we can just we don't have to know everything about this space to create solutions. But if I can give materials to Travis that helps him bring more deals to me, then that's good for my business. And I thought, well, how about I just step and repeat and get a dozen or two Travises that I can support, that they can make money, and I can make money, and we can create solutions. One of my favorite things that I did with Travis, it was the most fun transaction I did, is where there was an owner financed. So this seller number one was willing to carry her for borrower number one, but borrower number one only had $20,000, and they needed $100,000 to put as a down payment on another property they wanted, that seller would carry, seller number two would carry for them, right? The seller become a buyer, but they needed $100,000 to go buy a piece of land cash. So what we did is we did owner financing, and I came in and bought a front end partial, so that they had the 20,000 plus the 80,000, they had their 100,000. So then this person had their 100,000 down and carried the loan for the other person. And so they had their 100,000, it might've been more, maybe 150. Then they took that cash and kept the remainder interest of the note. And then they bought their piece of land for their dream home or something for 150,000. So it was kind of a fun little daisy chain. Owner financing, me coming in to buy a front end partial on deal number one, on deal number two, and it created 3 transactions out of knowing how to put these together. And just think of that, where all these properties were 300,000 plus in value, and I'm only in at 100,000, like 30%, 40% investment to value. So I like that because it's really hard to lose money when you're less than 50% investment to value. So created solutions. Travis got paid twice. I had something for my portfolio as well. So that's why I created this membership. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if there's enough interest, but it's an introductory product and price and all of that. So if you're interested, please go over to Patreon, Property and Paper, and just check that out. Our first call that we'll be back together on in this sort of a setting, but just smaller, is I think Wednesday, the 9th. I think so. It's coming up, not even a week away. So I would love to have anyone who wants to go deeper on some of these conversations join me there. And so that's fantastic. So Chuck, can you please bring yourself up? So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been in real estate for many, many years, and I've always been around the notes and doing exchangings and trades, and we call that equity marketing. So I've been around it a long time, creating notes and doing that. I do a little bit of hard money lending, not a whole lot. But I've never bought a note. I'll always say, boy, that looks pretty good. And yeah, I know how to do that because, I've taken a lot of courses. So I think I know the math anyway, but that's I get to a point, like I was on Paper Stack and I saw a note in Oklahoma because we have land down there. And I thought, well, that looks pretty good. I ought to buy it. But then I get to thinking, is this a daisy chain? How many times has this note been sold? But I've just never bought a note like the one on Paper Stack. And I can show that if you want to, or you can screen share it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll go ahead and I'm going to bring up is this yours? Your note review. Here it is. So why don't you Chuck, you've done all sides of real estate. You've done owner carry on your own property, right?
Yes, we've done owner carry on lots of our properties, and we even create notes sometimes, and but I've just never bought one from somebody else.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to point out that like you've already, to me, it's the cat's meow what you've already done. Because number one, if people want to get started in note investing, the best way to get started in note investing is to buy property that you are, or to carry paper on property you already own. And the longer you've owned it, that price appreciation, you don't need to charge 10% on it, because with the owner carry, you get that appreciation. And even if you're carrying below going rates, you're still doing really well. Your overall return, if you count the appreciation, is easily, multiple double digits sometimes. I really love your story, Chuck, because number one, you've carried paper, you originated your own note. It's just like you haven't sold any of those notes probably yet.
No,
right?
haven't sold
Right.
any of them.
So you haven't sold them, but if you did, you'd find out, what the market would pay for them. But if you don't have to sell them, what a great way, right? I mean, you already know the property. You're the one that knows the borrower, or at least put the deal together. So that's some of the best paper that you can have, because it's property you are comfortable with. So if you ever had to take it back, you already know what you're dealing with, right? So if you buy somebody else's note, I'm getting to it's great to buy other people's notes, but I already want to acknowledge that you're already right there. Everyone, oh, I got to get into the note business. Well, you've got a few investment properties. We'll do something. That's the easiest, best way for people to get started in note investing. In fact, a lot of people who have worked really hard over the years, they put together a small portfolio of investment properties. They paid them off free and clear for the most part. And then they get tired and their health doesn't allow them, and they get tired of doing repairs, and they just want to relax and travel. So their intent all along is to convert their property assets or their real assets into paper assets. That's for people who understand, that's a very valid way to create your retirement. So I already want to acknowledge you there. Like, okay, check number one. The second easiest way for people to get involved in notes secured by real estate is to do hard money lending. And there's a lot of product, right? So either you have your own relationships with people, or there's hard money brokers everywhere. And there's people wanting private loans all the time, usually people who are rehab flipping properties, or have some sort of transitional financing that they need, right? So that's number two. The next easiest way to get involved is to just lend your money. The third way is to buy that note that you already created with your owner financing from someone else. Okay. So, and then down further in the weeds is buying non-performing bank paper and judgments. And there's just deeper and deeper ways you can go, usually getting more complex and just a little less known. But everybody, if they just followed what you did, would end up, I bet your cash flow every year is pretty good, huh? Every month?
Yeah, because everything we've got, we try to make everything owner carry, and the less debt we have, the happier we are. So, and ever advertising I ever do, it's owner carry or trade. We will do either one of those. And we do some hard money lending to builders that we know and trust.
Right.
I've never loaned money out that people I didn't know. Those lenders are braver than I am. And then I thought, well, why don't I just buy some notes? But then I get to the point to where I wonder where this note's been and what it is. And I don't want to offend people by saying, are you the owner? Or are you trying to broker this note? Or how many times has it been sold in a daisy chain? So I just say, well, it's not worth it. So I'd back off and don't do it.
Yeah. Well, for one thing, this is the same if you're offering a wholesale price on a property, right? Some people do really get offended if you don't give them a price that they like. But you have to, for me, just don't be embarrassed to give your price, because if you give a price you're not comfortable, just to not, then nobody's going to feel sorry for you if you lose money on your deal, you know? So you got to know what makes sense for you, in so many regards, in both real estate and in notes. The prices that people will pay are scratching my head. I mean, I'm just, or tipping my head. They're not scratching my head. I'm doing that, but it makes me tip my head to just the prices people are paying for the kind of product. And I know, so I'm not the highest bidder on a piece of property or on a note. I'm just not. Either it works for me or it doesn't. I try to do the best that I can, not to offend people, but just to put that out there. It took me a while not to worry about what people think of me a little bit, oh, you're just one of those, but I would rather give them the best deal I can. While I would love to give them the most money, and I can be a lot more competitive if I don't have to buy the whole note. Or like in the example I gave in the beginning, if I'm only at 40% investment to value or less, I can be a lot more generous with the rate, with the percentage of discount, right? Because I'm trading it for safety. But if you buy the whole enchilada, you buy the whole property, you buy the whole note, you better make sure you know what your risk and reward palette is like. And everyone's, their net wealth is different, their income and expenses are different. So it's a very different conversation for everyone. So let's look at this. Paper stack is one of it's like an MLS for paper. And have you checked? There's a few of them. Which ones do you like to keep track of besides paper stack?
Well, I've not gone anywhere else except paper stack.
Gotcha.
The only one. And then I reach out to realtors and people that I know and tell them I buy notes. And somebody on here said realtors don't understand. And that's just totally, absolutely true, because some of them say, is that legal? Or is sub 2 illegal? What are you doing? So I have not got any traction. Well, I've had a couple of realtors that we've loaned money to their client, but it's just to sell the note, it's just like a foreign entity. So that's kind of hard.
Yeah, well, thank you for that endorsement of the whole reason I need to create product and some training and support for people to train realtors just enough to know. You can't really tell them too much. And I've realized that the couple special reports that I've made, some people think it's great. Other people are like, and I know they're smart. Like my favorite realtor that I use in this area for years now, she didn't get it. On the first page, there's already like 2 or 3 words. She goes, I don't think she's the broker of record for her own business and for the next brokerage she went to work for. And she's like, it needs to be simpler than this. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to keep working it. But education is the big thing. I've seen real estate agents who are so stuck in the mud that to say no to something that they didn't understand, that they were willing to let their client sell for $300,000 less for a cash offer than if they would have done an owner financing deal with us buying a piece of the note or all of the note. And so, but they were willing to say no. So instead of getting a $900,000 commission against $900,000, they got a commission against $600,000. Their client lost out because they didn't even present the offer. They didn't even entertain it. And so anyway, so it's really sad. So thank you for bringing that up. But it is, if you can get it, it might be a lot of brain damage. And I used to say there's a lot funner ways to get brain damage than talking to realtors, no offense, but I think it's worth it, because once you find, if I could just have like a handful or 2 handfuls of realtors who really get it and know when it's time to call, they don't have to understand everything I'm talking about. They just have to know, when is it time to call Dawn and see if maybe this is one of those times she can work her magic. So anyhow, so you're looking at this note, and it's an MLS, and you, so talk to us about this. Can you guys see this? Is this big enough for people to see?
Yes.
Can you see it, Chuck? Okay.
I can see it. Yes.
Okay. So 5 acres. Just, this is vacant land.
Yes, they've got a couple of travel trailers on it. Looks like from Google Earth.
So do you think it has water and septic already?
I don't think so. No, down in property details, I don't think it's got water and sewer.
So this is an example of when you're out there looking at notes. So this is what he's looking at.
It just says raw land, and so I figure
Right.
they're close to the lake, and so they're glamping on the lot.
Yeah, gotcha. $9 per month note serving fee, buyers on time with payments. Tiny homes, guest house zone is talking about zoning. Eufaula Lake. Is that
It's a huge lake.
Oh, a casino too. Wow. Okay. Lien position first. Have you done a lot of contract for deeds? Let's just talk about that for a second.
No, I've been around them a long time, my whole career, 40 more years in Colorado, but a contract for deed in Oklahoma and New Mexico is pretty common. And the contract for deed in Oklahoma, it's a judicial foreclosure. So it's just like a mortgage or a note and deed of trust. And so that's pretty interesting. And I also thought interesting that the usury rate in Oklahoma is 10%, but that has nothing to do with me buying the note and getting a yield of 18 or 20%. Right. And that's what I was looking at. So, I think you really have to go to each state. And I looked it up on Google to see exactly what I was dealing with on a contract for deed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not really entitled until you make that last payment. And so even though you're not entitled, you can't, as some people say, just go record your deed back and get it back. It's not that simple anymore, because now you have to have the judicial foreclosure.
Yeah. So I think, thank you for bringing that up. So people think, oh, contract for deed, I won't ever have to foreclose. It'll be easier. All I got to do is evict. Well, that's not true anymore.
No.
Not for lease options, not for contract for deed. In fact, here in Nevada, in my area, I get the people that I feel really loyal to, and I just stick with them, because once somebody knows how I operate, they know the entities I use, they know my strategies, they trust me. So anyway, I've been doing a lot of deals with them since we moved here. Gosh, it's been about 10 years almost. They just told me, Don, we will not do contract for deeds. And no, that's not my favorite thing, but there was a whole, this lady, her husband died, and he had done a bunch of contract for deeds. So I would just consulted with her to straighten out her portfolio. But my title company said they will no longer insure contract for deed transactions because they're so riddled with potential legal issues down the road that they simply just won't be involved with them. So, and I agree too. Plus, there's a better secondary market for notes than there is for contract for deeds. I don't I don't want any contract for deeds anymore. The last thing I want is to be on title to a piece of property that's not something I want to own and in my backyard, so to speak. So I don't like them anymore. And my people here won't insure those transactions anymore. And you can just bet that you're going to have to do a foreclosure process or some judicial thing, or they'll get free legal involved and they'll accuse you of who knows what, because if you own property or you're a lender, you're the rich, bad boogeyman that they can go after. I don't know. It's a little imbalanced, but anyway, but in some areas, like you said, it's just the way things are done, but it doesn't mean it helps you to avoid the foreclosure process, whatever that may be.
And I didn't check to see if the title company would insure it if I get a lender's policy. So I didn't think that.
Yeah, I mean, just something to think about. But here we are. We're looking at a relatively small note balance. So how long has it been paying? There's been 6 years remaining. How many payments have they received? I'm not seeing it right.
It was 2029.
Oh, so that's 2 years. It's over 2 years worth of payments. So that's
Right.
good. Alone about, did they put a down payment? Where does it say where they put a down payment? Well, I don't see that.
Unpaid principal balance. I don't know where the down payment is. So.
Yeah, so I would want to know that, did they put 0% down or did they put 50% down? That's a big difference, right? Especially on raw land. Raw land, to me, I don't know about your underwriting there, Chuck, but to me, 50 cents of value, 50% ITV, investment to value, is the most I want to be on raw land. And I like to see, not just because of appreciation, I like to see hard equity down. I guess I have done as little as 35% down, depending on the situation and where it is. But so that's just another thing that I think of.
Hey, Don, this is Sri. Can I jump in?
Oh, sure. Hi, by the way.
Hi, Don. How are you?
Good.
So there are a lot of land investing gurus that have come up because I was trying to buy a pool of notes, and they buy the land so cheap than what the actual value is, and they sell it with seller financing. And most of the time, I'm talking about somewhere around more than 120 notes which are available for sale, and they were selling wherein I'm going to get a yield of 18% if I buy it. But practically almost 92 or 93% of them had zero down payment. That's a business model pretty prevalent with one of the gurus or coaches in the land investing. That's their business model. You buy it at a discount, sell it at par with seller financing, and they don't take any money down. That's a pretty standard thing. So I don't buy those, but that's the reason we backed out. But that's a common practice for those coaching students follow for selling land with seller finance.
Right. So what it does is it leaves all the risk with the note holder. So the person who gets the land under contract for $1,000, then they sell it for $10,000, or $10,000, they sell it for $60,000. That 0% down, or even just 20% down. There was another gentleman who had emailed, what do you think about this? And I don't know how to calculate my rate because it's 4 notes and they don't pay it off at the same time. But I said, well, so it was anywhere from 0 to 20% down, then it's a 0% note, right? And then, so they get their money, they get their down payment, or they keep the remainder interest. If they keep the remainder interest or something, then that's respectable. They have something to lose but if they got any sort of a down payment, so they bought it for $1,000 and they took a $3,000 down payment, the chances that they're going to come back in if there's a legal issue is pretty much none. Why? They got paid. They don't have a lot to lose. Right. And then the person who put 0% down, life gets tough. They don't have a lot to lose. On the other hand, if they think they got a good deal and every month, you know, that principal balance reduces by the amount of their payment, whatever, $200, $300, then they're going, oh, I'm building equity quickly. So, I mean, there's a risk and reward, but thank you so much, Shri. I know you have a lot of experience. I appreciate your comments and your input here. So
Just a quick comment on this. On this note, when you look at it, as you know, I got started investing in non-performing notes. That's the major part that I've done.
mhm.
We buy performing notes right now, but non-performing is where we got started. So when I look at this note, the first thing that I would look at is what does it cost to foreclose if it's a CFT, foreclose or forfeiture, whatever that is. What does it cost? At such a low UPB, what happens is not all the foreclosure costs in all states are recoverable. What I mean by that is if you spend $5,000 to foreclose, all 5,000 cannot be collected from the borrower. There's a limit based on which state the note is. I don't remember what it is in Oklahoma. I generally try to buy notes where the property value is at least $100,000. I feel much comfortable in that range where the borrower has put something down. And you know, even if you need to go and fix and sell something, there is some equity to play with. When the value is so low, then what happens? You don't have much room to play with if something goes bad. That's one of the reasons I stay away from low balance notes. They're just my business model. I'm not saying that's the only way to do it. So look at it. If you were to foreclose, how much would you have to spend? What can be recoverable in this case? Because you might be already in the red, if that is the case. Another thing is if it's a land, when you buy a note, you want to see, am I okay owning the asset if I were to foreclose? Let's suppose this land is landlocked. What I mean by that is there's no way to get to the property without going through someone else's property. What do you call that? You buy something, I don't remember the exact terminology. Another thing is if they don't have water, you don't have sewer, there's electricity. So whenever you buy a land note, you want to see what is the best use of the land if you were to get the land. As long as you have raw land and you don't have a right of way to get to the property from a county road or public road, your options go down really fast. There are not much options you can do. It's not easy to sell those lands. Ask me how I know.
Yeah, you know, those are all fantastic points. I love that. Just so valuable.
That's why a lot of the reasons I was going to offer probably around $5,000 or less. On paper, the yield would look pretty good, but just for the things that you said, you could still be underwater real quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, another thing, I'm going to bring up my financial calculator here. And,
sound like
okay, okay, I got somebody who's
Gerald Lewis.
Hello.
Gerald. Can you mute yourself if you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Yeah,
No
I wasn't
problem.
muted.
So clear all, and just for oops. Okay, so for kicks and I'm putting in your 98.93 is your principal balance. It's at a 10%, right? And over payments remaining, let's call it 72. The monthly payment 182.07. Well, so pretty close, right? That's where we got that. All right, so even if you paid, so this is at 10%, and you can go, well, 18%, you know, really good, or let's take your 5,000. And so here's another whole aspect of it. Well, actually, you do better than that, better than 20.
Yeah.
That works out to 40. But let's look at what you'll actually get. So, you know, it's actually on this one, not too bad. You're going to tie up 5,000 to get back 13,000. That's not too bad. Sometimes though, I'm going to show you another thing. What if someone goes, you know what? 15% would be awesome. So I will pay this. I'll pay 8,600. Yeah, give me 15% all day long. but you're going to tie up 5,000. This is not right. Total interest. Oh, you're going to tie up. Oh, you're just tying up more. So, let's make it more dramatic. Let's say you're good with 8,000. But a lot of times when it's more apropos when there's a really, really short amortization, like 2, 3, 4 years. But sometimes you're going to tie up a lot of money. And even though the face rate seems like it's a good deal, it's really not a good deal. I guess to me, you're mainly getting back your principal, and it's not a lot of interest. So you have to love it for a lot of different reasons. But anyway, so for this, it would be like, okay, Chuck, would I be willing to get, would I be good? It's sort of like here in Nevada where we have lots of casinos. It's kind of like rolling the dice in a way, but I have done that. It's not that it's wrong. It's just, you have to go in with your eyes wide open, right? There's some deals where I go, just the people involved, the situation involved, where it is. I just feel like my chances of taking this back are really, really low. But if it goes bad, I'm not chasing it. I have bought some like that. If it goes bad, I'm not chasing it. It's just, if they ever sell it, maybe, title will ask me for a demand at some point, so, but anyway, are you good with tying up 5,000 over 6 years, to make 13? Just by the numbers, it sounds reasonable. What do you think after all this, Chuck?
Well, a couple of things. Of your questions that we're asking here, I have not wanted to ask the lady or whoever it is that's selling that note. I want to know who the people are on the property. Who is the note servicer? Can I get copies? What are the zoning? What problems have you had? So how far do you go asking these people that are possibly a broker knows nothing? They just reselling a note.
Well, you know what? It's okay. Everyone starts somewhere, but lots of times there is a daisy chain of brokers. But at the end of the day, yes, you get all of the documents and you get all your questions answered, or you don't. The money it doesn't happen, right? And it's okay to ask, is this your note? Is this your note? Because if not, probably they'll get a 5,000 offer from you, take 1,000 off, or 500 or 1,000, or even more, and offer, the holder of the note 3,500, 4,000, 4,500 maybe. But then also, you have your cost of due diligence also that you have to factor into that. So, but yeah, anyone who's putting something up should have a complete due diligence package, profile on this that's ready to go. So
I think the thing I don't like the most about paper stack is you got to make the offer before you get the information, and then you do the due diligence, and then you have to back out.
Well, you might, you're probably an old school guy who, like, your word is your it's a handshake, and you don't like, but it's totally the normal thing. You make an offer. If you get I don't want to do a lot of due diligence on a property or a note if I don't think that they're within my reach. If it's not a price point that I would be willing to pay, I'm not going to look at the property. No, I've got to have full price offer, right? So it's very valid to say, potentially, if everything smells so sweet and looks so delicious, I will buy this at this point. Then you do your due diligence. If it doesn't cut the mustard, there's no shame to just say, nope, this doesn't work for me. Thank you very much. Please keep me in mind for, if you come across other things, maybe you just bring it to me first. I don't know,
but I know all that. I just don't do it.
Yeah. So, but if you're in a pretty good financial situation, just throwing 5,000 to take a run at it it just depends where you're at, because I want to say I did it. If it's in your bucket list, go ahead.
Well, I liked your comment that a lot of people will say, oh, they're paying 10 and I can get 15. Well, no, that's not the way it works. It's what Sherry said, all that other stuff factored in there that may or may not happen. Want your yield to go way up so that you can take care of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Yeah. And thank you. It's Shri.
Shri?
Shri. Is that how we say your name, Shri? Shri.
You got it.
Yeah, Shri. Yep. Very, very valuable. Thank you for that. Okay. I'm going to come back to, I said we are going to stop at 45 minutes. How funny. Then maybe we'll stop at the hour. Okay. So when we're back with everyone, and I just want to take a quick perusal. Yeah, for land. Yeah, great. Kanisha says, I want to know if I can put a billboard on it, rent a cell phone tower, something like that, because those would be great profit centers. Yeah, I like Shri. I agree. It does not make sense to buy a contractor deed unless the borrower is ready to convert to mortgage and note. I really agree. And there's a lot of deals where they started out as contract for deed, and I wouldn't buy them until they were converted to a note and mortgage. But that supposed that they put down at least a 10% down payment, preferably more, and that I was comfortable with that. And I really like, it sounds, and I'm going to stop here, but it sounds really like, okay, I'm in at 70% loan to value. I'm in at 75% loan to value. I'm only in at 80 cents, like $100,000 property. I'm good. I only put up 75,000 on this, or 80,000. In the old days before, now I'm showing how old I am, like, my goodness, but in the old days, hard money standards were 65%. It seems like in most areas that's crept up a lot, and you can get hard money, sometimes 100%, right? And that's okay sometimes, but really the conventional underwriting is 65% investment to value is a pretty darn safe place to be. And if possible, I like to be less, because let's just talk about some of the things that I didn't get all the links. I couldn't find them once I got on here, but I really think that we're in for a downturn. I think we're in for some uncertainty. So I want people to really think about battening down the hatches. You guys know I'm kind of a freak about preparedness and diversifying into metals, crypto, food, ammo, all the things that can hold value and that you need, water storage, water filtration. If things get weird, if they don't, I'm really glad, and I'll still be fine. I'm still be happy that I have, I won't have to go to the grocery store hardly for a little while. But so just if you're in at 75% and it's an area that gets hit, like, well, Arizona and Florida are already starting to noticeably go down in prices. Here, the last downturn, property values went down 50%, 50. So $100,000 property, which there aren't here right now. So $400,000 property. I make a loan for $300,000, or I buy a note and I'm at $300,000. So I'm 75% investment to value. Well, guess what? You're underwater as soon as that $400,000 property goes down to 200. So are you okay with that? So the answer could be yes. The answer could be no. It's just like when we have deflationary potential, lots of unknowns, lots of black swans, lots of things that could happen. I would just counsel. That's why I really want to train people I want front end partials, because when I can come in and I can buy a front end partial up to 100,000, but the property is worth 200, 250, 300, 400,000. I like those numbers. I want the safety, and I'll take a less of a yield Now, if someone wants me to buy a non-performing note, it's nasty. I just, I did offend someone, she said, I want to sell this note to you because I trust you. I said, it's not about trusting, but you're not going to like the number. She goes, well, what is it? And I said, maybe 45,000. And it's only 5 miles from me. And she goes, what? Anyway, but I like the front end partial idea because it keeps me ridiculously safe. It would be so hard to lose money. There's a lot of things that would have to happen before I'm losing money. So even if I've got to pay for legal fees and keep taxes and insurance going for months and months. And what if there's another moratorium? We can't have middle America, making money and acting like they own stuff and that they should have these rights. Here's my soapbox coming out. But anyway, so those are my thoughts. I probably forgot where I was going. I'm sorry, there's so many things I would really, really love to get to. So many great comments. I appreciate all of you so much for showing up for this sort of maiden reboot, relaunch. And if you're so inclined and you just want to join me over on the membership, or it's $33 a month, and we're going to meet like this 3 times a month. First time next Wednesday, I would love it. Otherwise, again, if you're not listening live, please go over and sign up, dawn@notequeen.com. And so I can keep in touch with you via email, because I'm not great at social media. It's not my favorite thing. And just for kicks and giggles, can you guys hear that? Okay, I'm just going to tell you a weird thing. Can you see this? Okay, in the last 3 or 4 years, I became a geek for amateur radio. It was mainly just for preparedness, right? Backup comms, communications. And I think everyone should go get their amateur radio license and have a little UHF, VHF radio. But so I was going to sign off saying, now go out there and create financial solutions, just one mom and pop to another. But I also wanted to end with this. That just means 73. Best regards to all, and I will see you around the queendom. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Take care. Bye-bye.